Welcome to unPACKed, an open-minded podcast taking a clinical, not political approach to helping pet parents around the world. I'm Sailor Jerri, certified dog trainer, virtual dog training revolutionary, owner of Tulsa Pack Athletics, and creator of the open-minded approach.
And I'm Mattison, her friend, certified dog trainer and behavior consultant. Together, we have nearly 3 decades of experience in behavioral dog training.
We've been working with real dogs and the humans who love them to create solutions to problematic behaviors that feel too big for them to tackle on their own. In this episode, we are checking in on a previous guest from unPACKed.
Dog training is a journey, that's no secret. So of course, we're checking back in with our guests from season 1 to see how things are going.
We're offering encouragement, adjustments, and the next steps to these incredible humans.
If you haven't yet been introduced to this case, go back and listen to season 1 and then return to this follow-up episode.
If you're caught up on season 1, settle in with us and unpack.
Oh, Amy, it has been so awesome to be able to kind of touch base with you every couple weeks over the last few months. Jerri, Amy has this sort of format of filling me in on things that is, some people go with highs and lows. Amy might call it farts and rainbows. You never know. It could be something different every time. But I just,
He gives the good debriefs, huh?
The good debrief of what's going well and what is, maybe a little bit of a struggle, maybe needs some adjustments. But I know that you have just been doing so much. And so I think what we should do is maybe we'll go dog by dog. Maybe we'll start with Mo, because I feel like Mo has been on a pretty consistent trajectory since we got the plan in place. So talk to me about how things have been doing with our girl.
Oh my gosh, Mo's like a rock star. Like, oh, I can't. I'm like, this is my dog. So we actually made it out to one of our favorite parking lots this weekend, and we're getting closer.
I love that you have a favorite parking lot. Like, you are one of us.
Well, some of them aren't very well lit. There's just sketchy people walking around, and I'm like, yeah, not feeling that tonight. So yes, we have a favorite parking lot, and it stays pretty busy. And with the holidays coming up, they're just getting more busy. So Mo has actually been getting closer and closer to the other cars. The other day there was like,
for it. She's really ready for it. She's been really consistently, showing the same neutral behaviors that we're looking for, of not assuming that every creature that enters her, sight line is there to party with her. I want to party with her.
She's still, yes, she is a party animal. So there was this weekend, there was like a 3-part family, and they were just hanging out in the parking lot with their kids, hooting and hollering, and Mo was like, oh, and I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
So she gave you that look instead of
she
going off to do what she wanted to do before. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. And if she's like a little overstimulated, then I'll do like a scatter, and then she comes back and she's like, there's more. I'd like some more, please. So it's been really fun. We went, several spaces away from everybody. Then we crept up to 5, then we crept up to 3, and now we're sitting at about like a good solid 2. And
that's
I'm
awesome.
Within this week or so, I'll probably be down to 1. So,
and I think that now that you have this sort of observation element of it, I think really locked in, there should, moving forward, be some opportunities for interaction now that it's not assumed, right? Because she does want to greet, she does want to go say hey, and we can use that as an environmental reinforcer when it's appropriate, and we can come up with cues to be able to tell her, like, yes, is now we get to go say hey, or like, this is not the time, that's not the person. And we can kind of, just have those protocols, because she has been, I think, very consistent.
Super consistent. And even, the past few weeks, I was very honest with you. Like, I don't know if it was like starting to fight off some of this crud that's going around. Been super fatigued. Members have been at the credit union escalating with their economic issues. And I just been coming home like staring at the back of my head. And I'll just sit there and I'll just toss food. I'm like, I'm sorry, guys, this is all I got today. Yeah. And they're just like so excited. You're home. We get to do things. So it's
they
really
understand
cool
that we don't always have a full tank. And we have so much in place with them now. And I remember talking about this at our very first meeting that once you have been consistent and once you have been disciplined, having days off is like not a big deal. It's part of it because you've been
Mhm.
showing up for them so much that on the days when you just don't have it, it's okay. They are willing to meet you where you're at on those days.
Exactly. And the food scatters have been great with all the smells in the yard. So I'll let them sniff a little and they'll be like, okay, let's come back over here. And then there's Mo.
We will never be
Food.
able to convey that exact face over the recording. That was
Um,
so great.
But it's
The
so
ready
good.
cat.
Epitome of happy excitement.
Yes.
She is such a happy girl.
She is. And it's just for me, even at like my low points, I'll say ready. And she's like,
Like a border
Yes.
collie staring at you. Wow. This is so exciting.
it's so good.
So she's
So
really
good.
completely graduated from driveway work, hasn't she?
She completely has, and we've been walking in the front of the yard when we can. It looks like our neighbor here, one of the sons moved out, so it might be a really great opportunity to get us out in the street again. Because they were having their dog walkers come or their mom walk the dog, and they didn't have any control over those dogs, so they were running up on us. Thankfully, it was more of a playful type of energy, and it was Mo I was with. So, they would grab their dog and go, and I'm like, okay, that's not safe. I'm not coming out at 8:30. That is not happening because this has happened twice in 2 weeks. Not doing it. And their dogs are
Which
bigger
is
than
an
Ace.
incredible observation. People need to pay more attention kind of to times when things are going on in the neighborhood like that. That's really good.
Yeah,
Thank
don't be
you.
shy to track it, whether you actually have a little notebook or dry erase
Mhm.
board and you're writing it down, or just drop it in our Slack space.
Binoculars by the
Drop it in
window.
our chat. Right.
I'm
Hey,
kidding.
data collection is important. No, okay, yeah. Let's not get binoculars, but
The creepiest neighbor.
so real quick, just want to ask back, Amy, to some
Mhm.
sort of original goals in relation to both of the dogs with the cooperative care, the vet visits, things like that. Was that
Mhm.
both of the dogs or was that just one?
It was both, but primarily Ace, because Ace is deathly afraid of the vet. With all
Okay.
his allergies and things, he has a lot of PTSD from the vet being poked and prodded, and
Yeah.
he's also not keen on being uncomfortable. I'm gonna put that way.
Same. So
Mhm.
we'll come back to talk about ACE and we can talk about using some of the winter months to maybe start cooperative care, start muzzle, start those types
Mhm.
of protocols, just because not quite as comfortable or fun for anyone to be outside. We can do some indoor stuff, and those can be
Mhm.
activities that take a little bit less out of you at the end of the day too, less physical movement.
Mhm.
Um, so what are these sort of remaining big goals here for Mo?
For Mo, I know we touched on it right before the fall came. Mo is really good until the dog looks at her, and then she's like,
Yeah.
"Ah!" So I literally have that plush dog. It's identical to one of the dogs that you had, the plush dogs you had in one of your recent Instagram posts. It's still in the box.
The big
So it's
husky,
here.
the big
The big
husky one.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
yep.
husky.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great
the
it's a great
husky
It's such a
decoy.
one.
popular one forever. Yeah, I've seen it a lot of places. That's
They
great.
only really have 2 of those decoys that are like really realistic looking, and it's the same company that makes it. I think it's called Melissa and Doug, and they have a husky and a German Shepherd.
Is
And
it the
those are the only
shepherd?
2.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
shepherd was really cute too, but I wanted something that was like kind of gave if I when we're ready to cross that bridge with A's, I wanted something that was more comparable to his size, somewhere
Yeah.
in between him and Mo. But yeah, that husky I saw the shepherd and the husky and I was like, I think we're gonna go with the husky this time.
I've seen more dogs fall for the husky than any other
Yeah.
decoy that I've used. And I've used a lot of inflatable decoys, which for hounds, actually, I've seen be really successful because it eliminates the smell. It
Mm.
intentionally does not smell like a dog. And I think
Mhm.
that sound triggers are very
Very good
important.
point.
Sorry, smell triggers are very important for some dogs and breed groups in particular. So anyway, tangent.
But a good one.
Thank you. Think about too if you have any dog people friends who maybe have a dog, and once you're through the decoy, once the decoy is no longer eliciting any sort of reaction from her, you'll be ready to use dogs. And I think that it's easier if you can find somebody that has a, maybe calmer or more neutral dog that they can meet at and stay at a consistent distance from you at a setup location versus trying to work it with dogs that are just moving and grooving on by. I think that
Mhm.
when we can't have any sort of control over the speed at which we're moving through that intensity of the trigger. If it's like, they're not here yet, they're not here, they're here, and then they're gone. It just oscillates too quickly. So we need it to be where we're at a 50-foot distance and we're staying at a 50-foot distance, provided that's not building up frustration. We got to get that
Right.
under threshold distance. So start with the decoy, which she could absolutely react to massively, or she could be like, Mom, that's a stuffy. Try again. We'll find out, right?
Enzo would not know it was a stuffy. Enzo still thinks that the same tree stump is a squirrel, and we've seen it 750 times. He would be
Amazing.
like, no, that's a dog, and I don't care.
I filmed Remy meeting the decoy, so I'll post that later so you can watch
I
it.
need to do this.
It's great. It's fun.
Oh,
All right, well,
you're
let's
just
talk about Ace. So Ace
Oh,
has been a little bit
Ace.
more, I think, fits and starts, just because deep down he's much more sensitive. He is
Yes.
much more, he's a big boy, but he's the more sensitive one.
Mhm.
And he has more triggers, and he is triggered more frequently throughout the
Yes.
day.
Yes.
With the sound sensitivity, especially. I find that dogs that are
Mhm.
sound sensitive, the progress is just a little bit slower. It's just going to be
Yeah.
because they have more episodes.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what it's been lately. Between the delivery trucks coming more, and he's, like we talked about initially, those big engines, he really does not like them. They make him uncomfortable. They vibrate the house and the ground. He doesn't like that. We have a neighbor here that has company over pretty regularly. And so it's like, during the afternoons, it's a lot of cars, people out there talking, that kind of thing makes him kind of nervous. But one of the rainbow moments was even when he hits closer to that threshold where he wants to like shoot off, he will stop himself like mid shoot off and just look back at me. So
That's not just a rainbow.
big-
That is like a glitter bomb explosion.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
amazing.
pretty big deal.
Yes, and it's happened the past couple of days because the weather has been kind of like back and forth, but still like pretty autumn-like, which is really abnormal for West Michigan. Usually by now it's like a snowstorm.
Yeah, winter is
So-
winter and it's here, right?
Winter is wintering hard, and so it's been really cool to see. Like you said, it's not as consistent with Ace because some days he's just like super sensitive to the world, and some days he's not. But the past few weeks, the critters and things are back out because it's warm, and he has stopped himself at least 3 times. Whereas, as I shared with you before, I would chance him dragging me to the ground, or I had to quickly let go of the leash if he was going off really fast. So that's a huge deal. And even last night when he was hearing more sounds going towards the window, in Ace fashion, he gets past the couch and he pauses and he goes, I will
Side-eye?
take it, buddy. Come get your
Side-eye?
food.
That's pretty good, I think.
I was like,
think
are you
so,
watching
too.
me? Is she watching me? She's watching me. I get food.
There's something I'd like for you to try and start tracking informally. But
Mhm.
on the days that you notice that he has a high number of maybe like sound sensitivity triggers or reactions
Mhm.
within the home,
Mhm.
pay attention to how he sleeps that night and if the next day is potentially a very sensitive day for him. I think that when we look at a high number of really it's trigger stacking throughout a full day.
Yeah.
And think about with us too, right? We have a really, really stressful day. Having good rest that night is very important to reset and be able to tackle the next day. And potentially, if he's having a lot of reactions, a lot of sound sensitivity episodes, and then not getting maybe a full good night's rest, he might be having a sensitive day the next day.
Yeah, and with him being my more sensitive dog, I've noticed that when he was younger as well. But I've been going through kind of like this weird, funky loop of not feeling as consistently well rested. And with him being such a sensitive dog, he's still in tune with me that like he will start to be thrown off as well. So I've been working on getting us back on a more, going horizontal at a certain time so that it would make it easier for us to kind of coast off, because normally I'm like, oh shoot, it's like 11 o'clock. We need to be in bed like as soon as possible. And then, getting that whole process done real quick, it just adds
Your
that anxiety before you go
circadian
to
rhythm
bed.
is super important. Your circadian rhythm, dog's circadian rhythm is really important because it releases particular hormones when you go to bed at the same time every night that we really need. And dogs are the same. So that's good. Everyone needs to take note of that practice of it's my bedtime at this time.
And
It will
Ace will
help.
let
It
me
will help.
know. Ace will let me
Aw.
know with him. He'll be 8 in next week. This coming the
Wow.
24th. He'll be 8 already. But he's letting me know like 9:30. He kind of gives me this look like,
That's my
Ma,
bedtime too.
I'm
Yeah,
ready.
same.
I'm ready. Can we go now? Or Mo would
Yeah.
just be there up in my grill like you know. Yeah, so especially Ace, I might start putting him to bed sooner just because he's just letting me know that, hey, it's time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When was the last time you can recall a redirection between them?
A redirection. I almost can't. Like, they've been doing super well. And there was one slip up at the very early part of our plan where I think, I don't know if it was like forgot or something, but there was a little bit of altercation because they were cuddling with me. And then they popped off, and I was like, oh, shoot, I'm not supposed to have them out at the same time. So, aside from bedtime, where Ace has his spot in the room, Mo has her spot in the room. If Ace gets up, there's something at the window, or Mo wants to greet him when he comes in. The moment I start to see that hard eye contact, I'm like, okay, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
But aside from that, they're in their crates or we're rotating them out. And it's been really, really good for both of them, I think, because in those moments where we're ready to go to bed, it's like, oh, I haven't really hung out with you today. Hello. Oh, we're going to bed now. So it's like, it's really good. So they get that little interaction, and like, we're going to go to sleep.
I think we could probably start to expand that. I think
Okay.
that they both have so many more coping skills than they had, 6 months, a year ago, that
Mhm.
if they're getting 10, 15 minutes kind of in the same room at night, like let's go for 20, 30, and
Okay.
let's be practicing place, taking turns, using some of the time when we're training to have them be around each other, but sharing your attention. And I think
Mhm.
I think that they're ready for that. You could also add in an additional layer of management and get some type of
Okay.
X-Pen to kind of split the room in half and have
Yeah.
their beds on either side,
Ooh,
and then
yeah,
you're
that's
kind of on the
nice.
sofa in the middle. And you could do that even with the food games, with the food loops. Boop, 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 right?
Yeah.
And just
That
tossing
would be
over
really
each
fun.
side. But I think that you also have so many more skills and so many more, active management systems in place with them that not every day push it, but I think follow your gut, and as and when it feels right to start to increase their time out together, do. Because we're not seeing the issues
Mhm.
that prompted us to need to have the separation. And I know that having them be out and together all the time is not the real goal here, but I do think that there's a little bit more opportunity there to have them coexist even more.
Okay. Cool.
That's nice to hear, I bet.
Yes. Yes. I remember
Yeah.
in September, I was like, September was like the beginning of the leash reactivity course that we started last year. And just to see where we're at now versus where we started. Like, I remember posting videos where I was hand feeding them a couple feet apart in the foyer. And we did that,
Yes.
2-3
Yeah.
weeks. And I remember at that time, I think Ace was going through something. So I actually had like rice and chicken thrown into a bowl because he is so messy, he'll get it everywhere. So that's where everything started. And like now that he almost redirects himself, when he sees or smells a bunny or something, I'm like, this is so
That's the other
awesome.
piece that we are still working on with him, is the
Mm-hmm.
bunnies in the yard. And Amy and I have ordered some plush bunnies to hide out in the yard to be a visual. And we ordered a bunny pelt as well to be a smell trigger. So we can do some desensitization there. And I think that that's one that we just do a little bit at a time. It probably makes sense to be tackling that more in the spring,
Yeah.
when things are going on. Maybe try and start that a little bit before the critters really start to emerge. That way you can sort of just have your fake bunnies be the only bunnies in the yard.
Yeah.
I'm all about the
It
decoys.
gets confusing. I have some pelts out there, and let me tell you, what do you have in your mouth? Oh, I got you that.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes it looks real. Guess that's the point, huh?
That is the point.
Oh my God, that's funny.
So what about Ace with the car? Have we I know we were
Ooh.
working with him in the garage.
Yes.
How's
Yes.
that
So
going?
that's been going pretty well. He that last clip I sent you maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago is still pretty accurate. I think
Okay.
he's gotten accustomed to this neighbor over here. They've got like a pickup truck, and they like to and a Jeep, and they like to slam them. And I think Ace has gotten much better with that particular impact because it
Mhm.
is closer to the house. There is a little bit more vibration going on. But I think it's the ones that are he's not used to hearing all day. I think it's the
Mm.
ones on this side where they have company or they're outside talking or there's just some lingering going on. I think that's when he's like, that's not as familiar. I don't recognize that Toyota RAV4, you know. And he's just
Right,
kind of like, what's
right.
going on out there, Mom? What's going on out there? And I at night I've been trying to figure out what that is. I don't know if it's people are leaving, coming in on that side, but he's been popping off at night. So um
Can you do some
it's just
sound
been a
masking at night? Play like a white noise machine or some like calming classical music
mhm.
just to dampen it a little bit.
Yes, so we do that all day.
Okay.
Um, we do that all day, and then at night I used to switch over to like more fire crackling sounds because we didn't need that type of volume at night, but it looks like we will continue that through the evening, especially as those delivery vans come through. He's not
Yeah.
cool with that.
Yeah, we're still working on the delivery vans. I
hmm
think we could do some intentional sound desensitization of those delivery van noises. I think the again, like the winter time, we can prioritize some of these modification setups that can more easily happen inside, where we don't
hmm
have to go somewhere to set them up. Whereas Mo is kind of at, field trip stage, if you will.
And they're fun. Like we just get to hang out in the back of our van is like super easy to do, and she just sits on that ledge and she's just like,
She does great with it. So I think looking forward to potentially, shifting some goals, putting some more integration goals on to your list now that Mo's reactivity is really in a much better place, like much, much better place. And I think that Ace is on his way. I really
hmm
do. Um, keep an eye out for the episodes that we do with Cammy. So
okay.
her episode is about intra-household conflict, and her dogs Daisy
hmm
and Duke. They are probably two steps beyond where you are in terms of the integration. So you're going to be able to watch their process and say, okay, eventually I could be at that stage. And you can see kind of what that would look like if you really, a year from now, maybe Ace's reactivity is in a totally different place and you really want to focus on the integration. That'll give you a good idea for that framework.
Okay.
So what else is going on? What are the latest rainbows? What are the latest
The
farts?
latest rainbows and the latest farts. Hmm. I'm going over Mo's with aces. I think it's because he's touch and go. I almost don't register them as rainbows and farts just because every day is a little different.
Hmm.
Um, but the fact that we're going from the look at it game to the look away is a really big deal.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like he takes 2 steps on that laminate and he's like and I know at the beginning he was starting to figure it out. Like if I look at the thing, Mom does something. And it would take us a few rounds to do that. But now it's like, okay, we've already established a pattern that when this happens, this follows after.
Right.
And sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let him go towards that window and see what happens. Is he just gonna grunt? Is he gonna? I just need to see that body language of like, okay, I hear something, I'm gonna go towards the window, or I'm just gonna go to the window. I don't hear anything. And the
Hmm.
fact that I can get him away from that window, if he's a level 5, if he's a level 7, I can get him away from that window. And that treat and train that Coco was talking so much about, I can be in the next room. He'll be in his crate
Hmm.
and he'll pop off and I'll just like boop, boop. And I feel like having that extra hand has been so
Hmm.
helpful in reinforcing that modification. Whoa, I hear a sound. Whoa, I hear a sound. Boop. Ah!
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Just
I
I
quick,
think
love
we
there's
need
3
to
that.
more
set up like
coming.
that. Yeah.
I
And
do think
I've
that you
kept the
are
sound on.
I think that you're ready to maybe start with just the visuals of the bunnies, like one stuffed bunny in the yard,
Okay. Okay.
not with the pelt, not with, the smells, not a whole
hmm
family out there, but single bunny. And yeah, what that treat and train is doing is just like our yes and pay. It
hmm
has an incredibly strong classically conditioned
hmm
pattern. Just like you said, that prediction. He knows when he hears that beep boop, he's gonna get a snack over in the snack zone, right? So I think
hmm
that those treat and trains and any type of remote reinforcement delivery system like that automatically reinforces getting distance from the thing, the window, the
Mhm.
sliding door in this case.
Mhm.
We have like an automatic feeder for our cat. I use that. It works
Yeah.
the
And
exact same. It makes a noise and then you hear the clink, 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 and the animals come running.
Yeah, and it's been such a godsend. I was like, I'm so glad that I worked towards getting one of them because at the beginning I was still figuring finances out and what we'd need and what made sense. And I remember before we started this type of approach to training, I could not pull him off that window. I could not
Right.
redirect him. He was going at that
Yeah.
window like it was the only barrier that was getting him to the other side.
And he
Like
was
his life depended
intense.
on.
His
Mhm.
reactions
Yeah.
were very intense and physically
hmm
probably were feeling really unmanageable.
Yes, yes. And that's one of the reasons why I felt like until I could find an approach that I feel would really work with him, I didn't feel comfortable taking him outside because of the intensity of his reactivity. And so that has been one of the biggest things. It's like no matter how bad things get, it's never to the point where I have to like really assert myself to get him off that window, you know. Um, and he hasn't really redirected towards me. He's just like, oh, food zone. Boop, boop. Oh, I gotta go get my food. Excuse me. Excuse me,
Yeah.
mom. I gotta go get my food. So that's been really cool. Some days we go through a lot of the food because he hears so much out there, and some days we don't. But we just work on what we have. I found some treats at Target that are kind of like mid-value. He really loves those. They're in little cute gingerbread shapes, and I just kind of pop the limbs off and give them to him. A lot goes a long way with this guy. I pop off
Yeah.
2 limbs and he's happy.
Amazing.
But he loves it, and I haven't had much use for the highest value treats, our turkey jerky or our chicken jerky. I used
That's
to have to use those
amazing.
all the time, over bunnies, over the sight of our neighbors, over, oh, the other day he saw the Dutch Shepherd outside. He gave it a glance and he followed me back inside.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh my
I'm like,
gosh.
"Oh my God,
Is that the
holy shit!"
nemesis? Is that the
It's
nemesis
happening.
dog for him?
That's one of the nemesis.
Okay.
Dogs,
Mm.
Okay.
period. Dogs, period. But
All dogs.
all dogs. But these 2 dogs out here, there's a Dutch Shepherd, there's like a poodle, and then there's like one other. I can't remember what the other one is. Looks like some sort of retriever. But they play out in the front yard with their owners all the time, off leash. Very well trained dogs.
Hmm.
And so every now and then Ace will see like something go, and he's like, "What's that? Wait, wait, there's something out there. Mom, did you know?" So the
Yeah.
fact that and the dog, I think, glanced at him as well. So there was that moment, and then it was very quick. And I was like, did Ace actually see that dog, or was that just me that he actually saw that dog? I was like,
Oh, he saw it.
he saw the dog. He saw the dog. It's Ace. He saw the dog.
Right.
He's like that human at the club that's always looking, like checking for somebody. That's Ace.
Scanning. Scanning.
Yeah.
Just scanning all the time.
Well,
Scanning
that
that
sounds
was
like a
turned down for
huge
what?
win.
super, super cool. Because normally it's I see, I smell, I go. Like,
Mhm.
and oh, you are back there. Sorry. Kind of deal.
I love that. Well,
Yeah,
what
I almost
questions
forgot
do you
about
have
that.
for us?
So I think the only thing that's really left is, what, not only like where do we go from here, which we touched on, the X Pen and Mo and her field trips and winterizing kind of like our regimen. Is there anything else especially with Ace's barrier reactivity, is there anything else we could do for him, or is it just something we have to continue? Is it like just a matter of time kind of thing where we kind of continue what we've got in place and move forward with what we've got in place? That's kind of my curiosity. Is there a stone left unturned with that guy?
Are you waiting for me? Oh, I thought Mattison was going to say something, and I'm like leaning in to hear it. What I think is whenever you see, so like these things that you're seeing that are milestones, these small little things, that's the point where just remember this 1% better each day. So it's you stack just a little bit on that when you see consistency. So like if you're working on a particular thing, my kind of rule is it what percentage are you doing it at? Is it 90%? If it's 90% or greater, you're doing pretty good. You can maintain that, you can move on a little bit. But if you're trying something and it's like every other time is a hit or a miss, you really probably should stay there because you're not your batting average is not great. At that point, it's like, I think about everything like A, B, C, D, like just like
Mhm.
a grading system. And if you're at 50%, well, that's enough.
I go
We
with
don't need to be
about
moving on.
80%. I think about
Do
4
you
out
do
of
you do
5,
80?
80%, 8 out of 10, 4 out of 5 times. If you're having success, 4 out of 5 reps, you can push it. That's my sort of average. Now, dogs are different in terms of their resilience too. So some dogs you may
Ooh,
feel
we
like
were going to talk about that before. The resiliency of Ace may be a lot lower.
lower, which means you may
Mm-hmm.
want to get 5 in a row before moving on. You know what I mean? Whereas with Mo, a fail, which a failure just means that they didn't meet the criteria, which is not the end of the world. But what we're saying is that for Ace, it may be more important to set him up to be successful and to set that
Yeah.
criteria up so we know he's going to be successful, because Mo can handle a miss a little bit
Yeah.
easier. She'll bounce back a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's like, oh, there's still more food in the pouch. And honestly, that's one of the many reasons why I just kept him literally the station in the garage, just like midway through the garage. That garage door is halfway open. I make sure to pull
Yep.
my van out so he can actually see out there and have space. But even when he reacts, he's like taking 2 steps. You know what I mean? He's like just announcing that, hey, I'm here and I'm not okay with this. And we're able to scatter him until he kind of calms down a little bit before I can put him back on the station. So that's a huge deal, So it's just for me watching his body language and trying to understand what he's okay with and what he really is like. I need to be like as far back into this garage as possible because I don't feel okay with this kind of
So
deal.
I would adjust that setup then. I would think
Okay.
if we are still doing the same setup that we were a couple months ago, that we need to make it way
Mhm.
easier. I think no visual. In the garage
Okay.
with the sounds of the world, no visual.
I
Okay.
agree.
So close the door and everything else stays the same. We're going to make it even easier. Now we're just working on the sounds.
Okay.
And
That's
we are going,
that's not abnormal either, Amy. I
no.
mean, I see that a lot where I'm like, this particular setup that may work for 5 other dogs is just too much for that one dog. It's normal.
And you will go faster by going slower.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
By
what I
taking the
remind
step
myself
back,
with
you're
him.
going to see the progress. Yep.
Yep.
I remind
absolutely.
myself a lot with him because, like you said, he isn't as resilient as Mo, and he is very, very sensitive to me, to the environment, to any changes in the environment, to many
Mhm.
moment-to-moment changes. And so for me, it's like, okay, where are we at in this moment, and what can I do to help him feel a little bit more confident or feel a little bit more comfortable, so that even if we are just going to potty for a few minutes, what is his whole demeanor in that moment? So just like you said, just taking a back seat and having him show me where he is,
Yeah.
what does his movements look like? Is he really jerky today? Is he really nose to the ground today? Is he really twitchy today? What smells are in the air? Is that Dutch Shepherd out running back and forth with their owner? There's neighbors he's not familiar with coming down the hill at the side of their house, and they're making rustling sounds, So I guess the opportunity in the season is that we're preparing for the next season. So things
Yes.
are changing. So I'm learning, okay, there's a lot going on outside for him to receive. How is he doing with that? And how can I use what we have in place to help him feel a little bit more comfortable? I don't think he's ever going to feel comfortable with humans coming down the side of this hill right here, possibly. But at least he'll get used to seeing it and being like, Mom threw some chicken jerky. I think I'm a little bit okay with this. That
Yeah.
happens, chicken jerky just drops to the ground. It's wonderful. It's raining
Yep.
chicken jerky.
You got it.
That's the idea. That's the idea, of course.
All right, Amy,
So,
I am going to be in touch within the next couple of weeks. We're going to get your aftercare set up, and we are going to keep plugging and chugging towards these goals. But thank you
Okay.
so much for your time today.
We
Yep.
made it.
We made it.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Unpacked was created by Jerri Scherff and Mattison Simpson, edited and produced by Josh Wasta under the supervision of Straight Up Dog Talk LLC and Emily Breslin.
If you are enjoying this podcast, follow or subscribe to be sure you don't miss an episode, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform.
Looking for more honest and relatable dog content? Check out our sister podcast, Straight Up Dog Talk. See you next time.